Welcome back, Audie. Let's kick it off with some humble pie this morning. I actually know mine before we even start, but you go first.
You want me to go first? Okay. You can go first. Um, Hi, good morning. My humble pie, oh my gosh, is my humble pie is a mess. I'm gonna give this in the shortest version I think I can. Um, I'm writing a book, talking to ChatGPT about said book. ChatGPT suggests a book for me to read that's like similar in heart. I haven't really read that many other books that are like what I'm trying to create. And so I was like, I would love to read or listen and either harvest something or take something or, find something that I absolutely don't want to do, right? Um,
Hmm.
so I read this book. It's called The Things We Leave Unfinished, and there's like spice in it. I'm leaving the spice. Okay, we're not doing the spice. But it was a very small part of the book. The overall story is like phenomenal, but it brought up a lot of questions for me, like in my relationship, I guess you could say. Because I would say that I've always thought that my husband and I had like this like epic relationship, kind of like one of the relationships they're talking about in this book. And it's kind of like goes into our topic today, but I realized my husband had sent a text message to me yesterday. He had had an appointment. He wasn't able to come home right afterwards like he thought he was. And he was just like, yeah, well, I had to go back to work. And it's been like a decent amount of time where like it's kind of like, okay, Captain Obvious, like, but just a little bit. Like he was just clarifying that for me. And so in my head, I had like this reaction of like, I'm gonna text him back and I'm gonna be like, well, no, duh, like you're not home. Like, duh. And then I like stopped and I thought, and this is my humble pie, and I was like, why would you say that? And it was really weird because like there's not necessarily anything wrong with that response, but the day that he and I both had, like we had rough days, we've had a trying week, we have like a super busy weekend. There's no reason for us to have like animosity toward each other. And so I should show up gently, like I should show up in like an authentic, kind wife way. And I caught myself before I sent that message, thank goodness, because I was like, that is what a I'm not gonna say the word, what a bitch thing to do. Like, why would you do that? And I realized, Reagan, I am and like spoiler alert, our topic today is showing up kind of not how you're supposed to, halfway, etc. I realized I'm still programmed to show up to like protect myself from someone who knows me like intimately. Even though my husband has given me at no point in our relationship any reason to like build that wall. And so
Hmm.
that was really interesting for me. It was super humbling because I like stopped in my tracks, like fully stopped in my tracks, and I was like, oh, I have to like think about this. And I sent Reagan a voice message in the middle of it, and I was like, this is gonna be my humble pie, I think. Like, I need to like layer this out and like talk to you because like I just did this and I can't believe it. But yeah, so humble pie for the day.
Wow. Wow. Just yeah, I mean, I just want to cut you some slack always,
Thanks.
like you're such a good person and and y'all's marriage is so good. But yeah, just that that's funny that you say that because my husband when we first got married, he doesn't strong arm me like with our personalities. I would say if anybody's strong arming, it's me, and I kind of struggle with that. Um, but he totally got strong with me and was like, enough with the teasing and the like
Hmm.
jabbing and the like he's like you and your family, like your culture is like a bunch of jocks. And you guys just like rib each other all day and just
Yeah.
like slam each other in the ribs and you're like, what? It was a joke. And I'm like,
You've got
oh.
cracked ribs and everything, you're bleeding. It's like I was kidding, but that's literally, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I totally relate to that. And I did not even see it until my husband was kind of drew a hard line and said,
Yeah.
like, I was bullied my whole life, like by his own family. I'm not going to be bullied by my wife. So enough. And before we have
So
kids
yeah.
too, he's like, enough. I'm not gonna let my kids be bullied, even if you're joking.
Yeah.
And he's still I still find myself doing that sometimes. Like and even just like my daughter's name's Eleanor, and I was like, Eleanor Smelinor, and he's like, no, no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, grown, she's 6 months old. And he was like, no, like, just cut it out. because
Yeah.
it is a slippery slope, you know, you kind of start getting that protective, I'll slug you in the arm and
Yeah. That's
oh,
so
that's
true.
wild. So have you been doing this for a long time, you think?
I've definitely grew up in like the jock aspect of it, but I think it's really interesting because I'm like half you and half Roan in this sense because like I drew the line at 6 months like nicknames. Like I was just like they were calling her Gordita and I was like we are not doing this. I was like that we're not. So
No.
I understand that it's meant in lightheartedness, but we're not doing that. But on the opposite side of it, and I don't know why, but it's like specifically with obvious things, and that's like I said, this is a brand new development for me. I'm gonna have to like really process, but it's like obvious things. Well, it's like, well, no duh, or like no chisbits or whatever we're gonna call it, right? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I feel like that gives me power. I like honestly, I don't know, um, but honestly, I'm like processing this in real time. Like it could just be something that's like just due to like family life maybe like made me feel bigger than I actually was. Um, hmm. I don't know. I'm like I'll have to get back to you guys on this one because I don't know the full extent of it, but yeah, so anyway, that's my humble pie. What about yours,
Oh,
Reagan?
I actually have a lighthearted one today for the first time ever. Yeah,
Lovely.
yesterday I had my baby and we were in a restaurant up here and we were grabbing some food, bringing it home for my husband and my son. And I'm walking out and I have a baby in one arm and a big bag of food in the other arm. And there's a young woman coming in. She's probably like 20, 25. I don't know. Like I would just looked at her like my equal and I was kind of like getting her eyes before she came in and we were going to hit. And
Mm,
so I stopped, but I had my hands really full and I was like, oh, I hope you see me and let me go first. Like your hands are free and mine aren't. But she saw me and she's like, her midriff is out. She's got a nose ring and she's looking all young and cute. And um, she saw me and goes, um, oh, excuse me, ma'am. And then backed up and opened the door. And I was like, in my mind, we were equals and I was trying to get your attention to let me out. In your mind, I am a old woman with a baby. And you're like, oh, let me move out of your way because you really need my service. And it was just, it was like I just like looked at her like, thank
mm,
you, but you just ma'amed me. And
yeah.
I was like, I even wore tall socks today, girl. Like, I'm not, no, really. I,
Oh
that's a
my
joke, but I
gosh.
really was wearing tall socks, which feels so gross to me. But, I don't know. It's just really funny. Like, I just felt so old and so, she did not see me as her equal like I saw her.
Mm. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so relatable. I feel like I had a similar situation happen the other day where we had gone out to eat and like I've been carded my entire life. Just carded, 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 and they didn't card me. And I was just like I'm like, "Oh, so then I look like a doofus because I'm just like, "Oh, I was gonna hand you in, so that means I'm appearing over 30, huh? Or was it what is it over 40? I don't remember the law in Texas. Anyway, it's just like, okay, cool. Here we are. I
No, you
empathize,
so
Regan. I'm
do
so
not look.
sorry.
Oh, no, you said that person was just like, ah, she's got two kids. She's got to be legal. I'm not gonna get in trouble. That's crazy. No, you do.
That's
I think you look so
Oh, thank you. No, and I'm
young.
like, Don't turn this into a compliment festival over me. I'm like,
Sorry.
I'm just trying to empathize. I'm
Sorry.
like, I had a
I'm
similar
just looking,
feeling.
I look at you all the time and I'm like, oh, and your style is so young. I'm like, no, no, that person was just feeling like
Oh,
rolling
you're
with it.
sweet. Oh, you're sweet. And I can picture you in tall socks. I can
Yeah,
picture you in tall socks. I can see like you're not. We get mammed,
that's
and it's
so
fine. It's
funny.
also, I will say, ma'am is part of the presence.
It
And like
is.
I've been mammed a few times, and I haven't always hated it. Like the first time I was like, get that out of here. I'm not a ma'am. Um, But I've been mammed. Who was I mammed by recently? But it was a situation in which it was like, you best be calling me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've
Mm.
deserved this title. So I'm like,
Hmm.
Reagan,
All
ma'am,
right. All right.
like
I
you
don't hate
deserve the
it.
title.
I don't hate it. I just didn't expect it from someone that mentally I was like, oh, we're the same. And then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, we're not the same. We're not the same. I'm like 20 years older than you.
Oh my gosh.
But, just that moment.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into this topic today. I think this is a great your story is a great segue to talking about this because what we're going to kind of break into is half showing up. And the sentence
Hmm.
that we were kind of praying over, working through is you cannot be fully loved if you're only half showing up.
Yeah.
You cannot be fully loved if you're only half showing up. But most of us, I still find so myself doing this, and so many people in group settings, especially like after church, people just showing this like tiny little part of themselves and hiding the rest.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Um, so do you kind of want to, do you have any thoughts so far? And then we can just kind of dig in.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because like I pinpointed it to like my most intimate relationship where I saw it happening most. I think it's been easier for me to show up in group settings and show up in like bigger type events and kind of show up more as myself. And by more as myself, I mean I realized a while ago that most of my childhood experiences are not like universal experiences that everybody else has because I've showed up to those groups and I've shared things and everybody just turns and looks at me and it's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And my husband had to like bring that up to me. We were in a group at one point and he was like, that was just kind of like an odd thing to say. And I was like, what do you mean? So after I have like this realization, right, that like things are not, my situation is not the same as others. Um, that kind of helped me realize that like I can show up, I can bear my heart, but I don't always have to bear it like all the way, if that
Mhm,
makes any sense.
mhm,
And that's been an art because, and I feel like this entire situation is an art because it requires different things of us in groups. It requires different things of us in friendships and like business relationships and also in our marriages as well. Um, and so I just think that's kind of like what's coming up for me is like what are the levels? Like where am I showing up fully? Like what does that look like? Um and like really like how am I feeling when I show up to some place or like share in some place because I have a couple of friends as well that have like they have social anxiety and they've overshared in the past or like they're
mhm,
similar to me where they're just like I have like certain experiences that aren't the normal and I don't know how to relate to everybody else. And so I feel like that's also something else as we put on like a mask or just gonna pretend you're like I'm gonna be like everybody else so it's not awkward, but we can actually show up and be different from everyone else. And like it's known that we're different than everyone else, and that's also okay. Does that make any
mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
do you smell what I'm stepping in?
Yeah, I'm wondering what our listeners are relating to so far because I come from a family where it's like considered Christian and kind to just put all just like I can't even see my own needs. I have no idea. I threw myself out the window before I got to the social event, and now I am
Yeah,
100% just mirroring whatever you need and want. So that's
right.
what I come from, and that's what I tend to do if I don't actively work against it. And um like it seems nice. And my family would tell you like that's nice. You're easy to get along with. It's
Yeah.
easier when you do that. Everybody can just what's the big deal? But what I found besides the fact that it was making me sick because I was
Hmm.
well, and I have a specific example that I'm going through this week actually. But just when I was talking to my husband about this topic, I said, "This is what we're talking about tomorrow on the podcast." And he goes, "Oh yeah, that goes both ways." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, you can't be fully loved when you only show up halfway, but you're sending signals to me that I'm not fully loved and that I can't be who I fully am." And
Yep.
he's like, "Yeah, we've talked about this a lot, Regan, like in different ways, but when I just mirror him, then it sends him a sign that says you cannot fully be yourself. You need to mirror me."
Hmm.
And so it really made him feel so much better and better, more loved himself when I started bringing my own needs and who I really am forth.
Yeah. Oh, Reagan, that's good. When you said it goes both ways, that makes me think like what was mirrored for me was what you're describing of the like I'm just gonna like throw myself out the window on the way to the event and just be somebody completely different. And that was mirrored for me. But because my wound was I never felt seen, I did like for a little while the opposite where I wasn't showing up at all unless I was like showing up and like this is not what showing up fully is. Like showing up fully is being like true and authentic and diving into yourself, but like showing up fully, what I thought it was like I have to tell everyone everything, or like this person needs like a detail that they don't need.
Hmm.
Or like sharing my heart, like sharing the depths of my heart, my thoughts, my hopes, my dreams, with like strangers. Like, and
Yes.
not in a good way, not in like a podcast productive way. I've already talked about this before, and now I'm gonna bring it to you in a pretty little package. No, it's just like this is raw and real and the stuff that I'm going through, and not everybody deserves that. So that's an interesting thing because you're completely right that showing up only halfway fully reflects to that other person too. Um
It's
excuse
so
me, but
real.
yeah, I just see those oh my gosh, what is it called? The
It's a juxtaposition.
juxtaposition. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Like
Like
I'm
you,
glad we didn't have to sit on that.
this postpartum. Oh, our words, our words. Um, you just painted the juxtaposition perfectly. It's like these bipolar opposites, and the
Hmm.
virtue is in the middle. And
Yeah.
so our two extremes here, one side extreme is I'm going to give everyone all of me at all times. So like for
Hmm.
me, I went to a Halloween party one time after I was started coaching. So I was in the deep, I was doing the deep work,
Right.
and I went to a Halloween party, and I just was like, "Oh, I'm not going to do surface level talk. I'm going to get real." And so I'm talking to this girl about like the depths of my soul, and she's
Yeah.
like and like gets a drink and moves away from me, and I'm like, "Oh, maybe that was too far," you know? So one extreme is like over there, like the
Yeah.
person who is way too um when we're trying to give all of ourselves to all people at all times. And then
Yeah.
this other extreme is I'm not going to give all of myself ever.
Hmm.
And I'm going to show up as this like really small digestible version of me so that I feel safe and no one will not like me. They can't
Yeah.
love me because they don't really know me, but they'll like me because I'm digestible.
Yeah. I like the word digestible. Um, mm.
So what's the virtue in the middle here?
I have no idea. I'm trying to think of like my words are not firing today. So like full apologies for that. I feel like the virtue in the middle is like this is such a nuanced conversation
Mhm.
because it we just have the different categories, right, of the different situations we have very on the surface, like I just met these people, deeper friendships, business relationships, intimate relationships, familial relationships, like it's different across the board. Um, and so I feel like finding that middle piece is number one, we're going to have to discern, right? We're going to have to discern
Mhm.
who this person is, how much of our heart we feel called to share with them. Um, and a good reason to think of that is like, why do I feel called to share that? Like, why do I feel like I need to tell a stranger on the street like that? I don't know, my husband and I just had a breakthrough. We don't necessarily need to go down that entire
Excuse me, ma'am. I gotta tell
that
you something.
I know. And so I feel like those are good places to start. But I don't know, there's so much to unpack here. What sounds good for you?
Yeah, just I think it's seeing the awareness of seeing the two extremes, and then you
Mm-hmm.
hit the nail on the head, discerning, okay, who is this? What's the situation? Where are we? Like
Yeah.
a lot of people will go, well, I haven't spoken to this person in a long time because we don't get along. But now we're at a funeral and I want to just have the whole relationship
Mm,
backlog and
yeah.
break this open. And it's like, no, 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 no. If y'all want to have that conversation, have it the other 364 days of the
Reel it
year.
in.
Yes. People do that at Christmas and holidays too. They're like, we have a lot of problems. I think it's time to talk about it at Christmas dinner. You're like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. So who it is, like what the situation is, where you are, is it appropriate? And then yeah, then this is the conversation here. The rest of this conversation is how do you know? if you're showing
Yeah.
up real, and how do
Mm,
you feel safe enough to? Because like for I have some friends traveling from Germany right now, and this is a big deal. I've been wanting to see them for years, and
mhm,
they're coming in town, and I've told them like, "Hey, y'all let us know whenever you come to the States, and we will like plan our summer vacation around it, and we'll allocate that money. We'll take the week off, and we'll go
mhm.
and we'll make it happen so we can see you. If you travel all the way to the States, we're not going to make you travel to us. You know, we'll get there." And then it happened. They told us when they're coming, but they told us kind of late, and so we had like football camps, and my husband's work is, I mean, he can't get out of work travel, and so we didn't find out until like 25 days ago, and everything is planned already. And my only option was to take my baby, who doesn't like being in the car, 6 hours to spend time with a lot of people that we're not close to anymore. So in order to see them for like a one day, and then drive all the way back. But before that is already a trip, and then the day after that, my husband leaves for 2 weeks. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
yeah, I was
Good
just looking at,
grief.
I mean, I just physically, I just knew I can't do that. Like the stress
Right.
of my daughter screaming for 6 hours in a car is enough to just be enough,
Oh
but
my
add
gosh,
all
right?
of those other things and you're like, oh, so I just knew that's not going to work for us. That's a bummer, but we'll have to see you guys next time. Like that stinks,
Yeah.
but it's not your fault. It's not our fault. That's just what happened.
Right.
And but there's this pressure, this internal pressure for me, because this is what my family would have done. This is what my culture does here, and
Yeah.
is just make it happen. Just override your needs and your intuition about what's best for you and your family, and just do it anyway.
Mhm.
And I mean, 1% of the time, that's really helpful to be able to just like be a hero and do that. But the other 99% of the time, I've been practicing that my whole life. And
Mhm.
it leads for me, well, I'll tell you right now, let's see, tomorrow's the day that we're all supposed to be traveling there, and that I decided not to. And I got sick 2 nights ago. My husband got sick all day
Mm.
yesterday. He's still not feeling great. I've had two postpartum symptoms that I'm not going to go into come up.
Mm.
My son is in football camp and my daughter is traveling. And so we're just like stretched to the nines. Like that's why I went and got lunch yesterday at a restaurant, because we did not even have
Yeah.
capacity to cook. And if I was being forced to get a dog sitter to come over and clean our house and pack up and get everybody in the car and deal with my daughter screaming and all on top of all of this, and like
Yeah.
I would be so resentful of this sweet family from coming from Germany. I would be mad at them and be like,
Yeah.
"This, you're killing us. You're killing us. We're this."
Yeah.
And then when my husband leaves on Sunday for 2 weeks, and I'm like on my own, I would be mad at them again. Okay, so I
Yeah.
had like 2 days with my husband to prepare for him to be gone, and I gave it all to you guys. And
Yep.
but and that's what I've done my whole life. I've just said, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'll do it your way, and then I'll be secretly resentful. And I don't do that anymore. Do you have any relating to that?
Yeah, I'm thinking of quite a few things. I feel like the most practical or most recent thing like we've stopped doing is I would push my so I have Hashimoto's. I'm in remission right now. But for the last few years, like my husband's family is very much they like to stay up until like 3 to 5 in the morning at parties. And lack of sleep will cause my Hashimoto's to flare up like nobody's business. And so he and I have prioritized a lot over this last maybe like year, close to 2 years, just like coming home. Like just coming home earlier, like leaving earlier, and it's always so hard to leave. Like people are like, stay, like just stay, and it's just like I'm gonna die, like it's gonna kill me because I did that for years, and I truly think the lack of sleep like really made my symptoms worse. But I
Yeah.
didn't realize it at the time.
Hmm.
And so that like mind body connection, like I didn't have awareness of, now I have awareness of it. And so like if we are going to stay out later or something, we're like prepared. There's some caffeine involved. If there's going to be alcohol had, there's less alcohol had, like on purpose. It's like we're going to stay good, sharp-minded. We're prepared to like sleep in the next morning. Like it's an entire thing to stay up late
Hmm.
for us now.
Hmm.
Um, But I would kill myself, Reagan, over and over and over before I had the baby, while I was pregnant, and then when I had my first child, even, it was just like I was exhausted. Like I felt awful. And I was like, but I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna put a smile on my face. And I was like, this is what my husband wants and this is what we should do. And I wanna say, I can't remember when it happened, but like I had a breaking point where I was like, I sat down with him and I was like we like grabbed him by the shoulders and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like I can't
Mhm.
do it. And praise God, like both of our like wants and needs and desires have also like grown and matured as well. And so it's something different now. And like this isn't like just the young people, like this is everybody. This is the culture that I'm living in. And so it's been an adaptation because on one hand, I want to be part of that culture, but on the other hand, I want to change some of that culture. Like I want I want to be able to like do activities earlier in the day or it be like, I don't know, midnight and be like, "Okay guys, like we'll see you tomorrow," instead of like the pressure of like we've got to stay up late because that's what it feels like sometimes. It just feels like oh my gosh, like we have to figure this out. And so that for me, that's what I would say um like so many years, Reagan, of just
Mhm.
yes, 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 yes. Like I will kill myself. I will wake up and I would wake up the next day, swollen, like
Yeah.
super swollen. Like my body was so inflamed. Um, I even I remember one time this was a different scenario. I was pregnant with my first child, and I actually have a blind spot in my left eye. And the reason why is because it's fully due to inflammation. But I had stayed up late for my birthday party, actually. And I was like, this was the one time I wanted to stay up late. I wake up the next morning and I'm like, am I about to have a migraine? Because like there's just like this spot in my eye. And I like look at my husband and I was like, I think I am I going blind? And so I'm like, what is going on? My body, because of this inflammation, I have a blind spot in my eye. I've had a
Wow.
couple of other blind spots in this eye, due to pregnancy, inflammation, and whatnot, which is like these have gone away. But the first time, because I was in the middle of saying yes and putting on a face when I
Mm.
entered into pregnancy, that it was just like this was like a wake up call. And
Mhm.
anyway, it was just your body is going to revolt against you, and my body was revolting against me,
Mhm.
and I did not listen. I didn't listen to it. It took forever. Um,
Yes. Oh, and
but yeah.
everybody manifests those symptoms differently. Some people are like, I mean, I was super sensitive to mold. If I went to an Airbnb,
Mhm.
I would be like chronically ill all over again because of the
Mhm.
mold in the house. I could smell it from a mile away. Um,
Yeah.
so sensitive to like if you put on like a antibacterial hand sanitizer, I would have like a
Mhm.
splitting headache. My eye would be twitching. Um,
Really?
just crazy symptoms. We all do that in different ways. And the main thing that I changed that actually, because I was doing health stuff and juicing and changing my diet and doing crazy amounts of sauna and all these things to
Mhm.
heal. But what that those all those sensitivity things did not change until years later when I really implemented the emotional piece, the
Yeah.
part that's like, hey, you haven't made space in your body, in your marriage,
Mm.
in your friendships for yourself,
Yeah.
in your family of origin for yourself. You make zero space for yourself. And internally and externally, you are collapsing.
Yeah.
And I know you don't see it because this is your culture. I know you don't think this is wrong, but you are collapsing. This is the chronic
Yeah.
exhaustion that we talked about last week. This is the sensitivity. This is why you think your hormones are raging, even though you eat clean and you're good and you're like,
Mhm.
this sensitivity was directly tied to my inability to say no and say yes for myself and really show up fully as I am, who I am.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I just kept half of her or more hidden at all times. And
Yeah.
that was just like a full-time job. And it was making all of these other symptoms come up. And like one of my first specialists was like, "Are you high stress? Do you have a lot of stress in your life?" At the time I was not working. I had one
Mhm.
child. And I was like, "No. No, I don't think I'm stressed." that internal stress of ShamWowing and making yourself small and making sure you're palatable to every single person you meet is so high stress, even if you don't
Mm-hmm.
realize it. That is
Oh
so
my
high
gosh.
stress. It's destructive. It's
It's
absolutely
so
destructive.
relatable. I had my labs done like 4 years ago, right before I got a Hashimoto's diagnosis. My cortisol was through the roof. My
Mhm.
doctor looked at me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I mean, like I'm stressed,
Mhm.
like I have stress, like I'm doing things, like I'm broke. I'm
There were
like
things.
there were things I'm like struggling with my familial relationships. I'm like, am I gonna get married? I don't know. Like we're in like that limbo period of life. And I was like, so yeah, of course I'm stressed. And she was like, I've never seen levels as high
Mm.
of someone so young. And so that's like, wow, look, another outlier situation. That also means like, well, like crap, like what does that
Yeah, I
what
gotta
does
do
that
something.
mean? I have to do something. And so yeah, like 4 years ago, that's when we hit the diet of like I was gluten sensitive, dairy sensitive, grain sensitive, sensitive to literally everything. Now things are a lot better, which I attribute to A, the healing of pregnancy, I think, and B, just the fact that this conversation we're having right here, just making, like you said, making space in my body for these emotions, making space to instead of like suppress and show up as someone different, like I can just be who I am. Like, I'll give an example. Some family members of my husband's had they had showed up. My parents had been divorced or in the process of getting divorced for like a few months. Um, and I wasn't trying to like share a lot about it, but I also felt like stuck kind of in the middle of like, what do I like, where's the line that I draw here? And so it was very point blank. This person had asked me, so how are your parents? And I just looked up at them, and instead of trying to like get fancy with words or anything like that, I said, they're getting a divorce. And they both looked at me like, what? And I was like, they're getting a divorce. And they're like, you're joking. And I was like, no, they're getting a divorce. And so then they sat down and they were like, okay, honey, like, would you like to, do you feel like you want to tell me more about that? And so then I was able to like show up and like tell them like,
Mm.
I'm like I could be intimate in that relationship because they were close enough to be intimate like that with. But there's other moments of like maybe like like very far external family members or something like that. It's like, well, like they're not together anymore. I can like do rat a tat however I want to
Mhm.
say that and then move forward. But with these people, that was a big deal for me to be able to say that because my body had been feeling it of like this like tension of just like what do I say if somebody asks me, and I feel like
Mhm.
that's part of this conversation that we haven't quite touched on as much. Like you're like talking about like how do I show up to the social situation, and that's good, but like what's that one thing also, like that's for me, it's like what's the one thing that when I'm asked I don't know what I'm gonna say and I'm feeling it like like it's
Mm.
making me actually nervous.
That's so real. Yeah, we have a shared client and beloved friend who it lives in a small town and struggles with that because you don't want to cause scandal, you don't want to gossip, but you don't want to
Mhm.
lie. And so when
Yeah.
someone says like, "How are you and your sister doing?" You're like, "Uh,
Uh,
it's not great."
yeah.
We're that way too.
Mm,
We don't we're kind of more open about it now. Just keep it short and sweet. Like, I'm sure they're
mhm.
fine. Not really sure, but we don't have a relationship with my husband's parents. And so when he goes to a funeral and everybody goes, "How is your mom doing?" He's like, I'm sure she's great." Like but um finding that thing to say to different people like is
Yeah,
hard. It's so hard. And
it is.
when my husband said like, "I'm not sure, we don't have a relationship right now," his family like swooped in and did not his extended family did not want him like letting the side down and admitting that to anyone at the funeral. Like that was very
What?
offensive to them. Well, but, because
Yeah.
that generation is very like, do not let anyone know that we have some internal issues, even though every single
Yeah.
family has internal issues. So yeah, that pressure of like, and he was preparing for that funeral. Like when they asked me, what do I say? because
Yeah,
I don't want to lie and I don't want to create scandal. And I don't really want to talk about it,
that's
you
so
know?
true. Yeah. No, that's so true. I that with that feeling of like I wanted to talk about it, like I wanted someone to ask me, like, yes, I'm an adult when they got divorced, but also I'm like, my
That's a big
parents are splitting
deal.
up.
Oh,
Like
it's
that's a big
huge.
deal. And so I
Huge.
was like, I wanted someone to ask, but when that's something that I really had to prepare for because I was like, I wanted someone to ask, but whenever they did ask, I didn't want to do the word vomit. Like, I'm gonna give you every
Yes.
single detail and like this is how I'm feeling about it because then I'm like, I don't want them to like be stuck there. Like I and maybe that's another measurement that we haven't really talked about is like what capacity do they have? Like, can we like imagine the person we're talking to, like how they would respond if we're to give them something? Because I think these people that I'm referring to, no matter what I gave them, I trust that they would have had a good response. But I
Mhm.
also don't want to, and I think that's a responsibility of us is like, unless it's like a very intimate relationship or a relationship we're very strong and firm in, like, I don't want to give that to you for you to like try to fumble around and like figure something out to say back.
Yes.
And so then they get to show up as themselves instead of like half of themselves because they're like, I have this giant thing that they just gave me and I don't know what to do with this. You know what I mean?
Yes. And sometimes they have to learn, oh, they when I
Mm-hmm.
give them something real, they fumble it. I have a
That's
family
very
member
true.
that 13 years ago, I had a counselor who showed me how to stop having real conversations with this beloved family member who I'm very close to, or I was very close to, I want to be close to,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just hurting every time because I would share something and she would just like fumble so hard. Like
Yeah.
try to like give me a lesson, try to like spin it into her own agenda, just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you just shared your heart and now I don't know, I really don't want this. And so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like say something out of my like
Right.
left ear and it just doesn't make any sense and it doesn't help you. It hurts
Mm-hmm.
you. And
Yeah.
so my counselor was helping me like, here are the 5 topics you stick to with this person. Like
Yeah.
ask them how is work going. They're big workers. So ask them about work. Ask them like extra questions about work. Connect with them on this surface level, but do not give them the keys to your heart anymore. Pull that back and
Mm-hmm.
replace that with someone who is worthy and ready and wants to hold that.
That's
But
so
you're so
true.
right. We cannot be just like passing out the keys to everybody. Here, here, here.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And I think that that's like kind of rolls us into like how we stop hiding those parts of
Hmm.
ourselves is like we've covered discernment, right? So it's like, okay, who deserves this? And so like to stop hiding those parts of ourselves, I think is interesting because number one, like we don't handing out the keys to our heart needs to be somebody it's to somebody that's capable and somebody that's special and we have that intimate connection. Um, but I also think that giving somebody that key doesn't mean that you're being showing up fully. Like
Hmm.
because there's maturity in the fact that like this person doesn't deserve this or needs this right
Hmm.
now. Um, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. So this is a big conversation. So we did not mean to talk about both sides of this, like oversharing side, or this is like this is this juxtaposition again of oversharing versus only showing up halfway, and
Hmm.
this middle ground of I show up fully to the right people.
Yeah.
I show my full heart to the right people. And that is what we're looking for. But the reason we haven't done it, why can we not show up fully to the people, to the right people? Because at some point in our history, probably many tiny times, we did that. We showed up, we showed them our heart, and someone slammed us.
Yeah.
They removed their love from us, or they said we were weird, or like, even in
Hmm.
school, like what happened where you showed up, gave you showed your full self and it turned out to be a
Hmm.
dangerous situation for your confidence instead of being like, "Oh, thank you so much for doing that."
Yeah, that's so true. I can think of a lot of moments I will not be sharing on the podcast that are just really, really
Yeah.
hard hitting, like hurtful moments. And so I think that I'm like a bunch of those come to mind for me. I can think of like old relationships, like with other like boyfriends or something like that, where I like were to bring something up, like specifically there were the relationship before the one before Eric, the one before the one. I remember I was having a really hard time with my mom, and I would show up, and I was just like, I kept like he kept fumbling it. I was just like, I have this thing, or like she just told me this thing, and like he was just like, dang, that sucks. And it's just like, okay. And so I still to this day have not been mad at him because I was like, he doesn't have capacity. He can't do it. And this was before I even had language for it. But
Mhm.
that kind of like brought me into like that's just an example of like one of those times where it's like, okay, like I just can't show up to people. Like I am
Mhm.
too much. Like I they can't handle me. Um and
Yeah,
so
and
it's
that
really
lie.
interesting that lie, yeah. And so then that like bleeds into my relationship with my husband. It bleeds into my relationship with my friends. It bleeds into everything. And I'm like, there's a lot more. Like there's a bunch deeper ones for myself, but that's just the example I'm choosing to use because I'm not going that deep right now with you guys. But there's those just like little pieces, like just
Mhm.
like you said, those little micro things that just like bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed, and then all of a sudden there's like everything all over the place, and that's just how you're showing up. It's literally like you've been sawed in half.
Well, and you say these micro things that like okay, so this guy didn't show up for you, wasn't able to respond and hold that for you.
Hmm.
And that's one example. And then you have like
Yeah,
30 from like I
I
have
have
like
like
100 from school and I
yeah.
inflicted a lot on others too. So I don't blame any kids because I was so hurt that I bullied a lot too. But when you share yourself and someone makes fun of you, or they say
Hmm.
this line that's like, "Oh my, I'm holding that forever." When you shared your heart and they
Yeah.
responded with some like crass byline, and it's just, "Oh, that, oh." And so
Yeah.
they add up, and then what happens is it becomes this belief system that says, if I show up fully, it's going to create pain. So
Yeah.
I shouldn't show up fully.
Yep.
And then that goes into our closest relationships, like our marriage and our friendships and our relationships with our family and loved ones. And that is completely destructive. And it's that
Absolutely.
that lie has to be uprooted. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, how do we uproot that lie and convince? As long as we're believing that lie, it's like a little threat in the system. That cortisol level is like going higher and higher. Your body
Yeah.
has a little red flag that's like danger, danger, danger. Don't show your real self. Suppress. Make yourself palatable. Make sure that you
Hmm.
stay small. Make sure you don't do this. And then what happens when you go to that far extreme is you'll snap and you'll
Yeah.
overshare and then you'll go back to hiding, 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 hiding.
Absolutely.
I think that's probably most of our listeners have that experience. I only show up like 10% of my real self. I laugh, I smile, I mirror everyone, and then occasionally I overshare and then I go back
Yeah.
because that was horrible and I basically proved myself right that when you share, it's too much and it weirds people out.
Yeah, no, and I think we've had this experience, a similar experience with like prospective clients where they will show up and we have like a consultation session or something, and they dump their whole lives. And it's
Oh,
like,
so
okay,
real.
like, and it's like, we've got this. Like, I've got you. Like, it's okay. This is safe. This is fine. And like, we're able to give them that and like encouragement, reassurance that you're okay. And then it's like you follow up with them and it's like, okay, tell me how you're feeling. Like, what are the next steps? Like I have different like coaching offers right now. We have like the Rising Tide Fellowship where everybody can like come and join in for like $15 a month. It's like, how can I support you? How can we utilize these things? And they're like, oh no, everything's fine.
Gotta go.
And it's just like, what? Like,
Yep.
wait, what?
Vulnerability hangover. Like they're so
Yeah.
yeah, that's so real. And that's not just them, right? That's so many people. When
Oh
you
yeah,
tell
it's
someone your
everyone.
innermost, then you're like, danger, danger, gotta go. I would never want to see that person
Yeah.
again. If I could possibly cut them out of my life completely, that'd be great. Because I don't
Yeah.
want anyone to know.
So true. But that's just an example of like the like how hard we go back
Yes.
and forth sometimes because it's like what we're saying is like it's not a joke. Like we're not talking
No.
about like oh yeah, my husband and I had a fight. And it's like oh I shouldn't have said that. It's like no, here's my entire life story. Well,
Bam.
boom, like back and forth
Yes.
and back and forth, and it's like you said, the cortisol, like your body feels it. Like your body
Yes.
feels every moment of it. Oh my gosh.
Well, and that's what's the line is like your body would prefer an unhealthy familiar than
Mm-hmm.
a healthy unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So even if you're like offering it, like when you come to a coaching session, you're like, wow, that was a breakthrough. That was clarity. I feel better. That's so good. But it's unfamiliar. And I would
Very much
rather
so.
go back to my old toxic soup and just get in the bath with that. Like, and me too.
Yeah.
That is just our human nature.
Yeah, this is human nature. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, me too.
The
Yesterday when
toxic
I
soup.
called myself out, I was like, oh, like, I was like, I can still respond like that. Like, I tried to talk myself out of it for a few minutes. I was like, nope, get out of that bath. Like,
Mm,
that is
it's
not
not
good
where we are
water.
anymore. Yes. Okay. So some helpful things we can do to make our bodies feel, because we have to convince our bodies that it's safer to get out of the bath than to stay in the bath.
Very
What
true.
if this is the analogy we're going with? The soup, the toxic
Bath,
soup bath,
soup,
gross.
sure, still
But
water.
truly, our bodies are like that. The bath is safe, even if it's poisoning me, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's making me sick, even if it's ruining my relationship slowly or
Yeah,
blocking true closeness and love. I still feel safer than getting out and like walking, getting
yeah.
dressed. I cannot go do that. And that is not anyone's fault. Our brains are wired to do
Mm-hmm.
what's familiar. Our nervous systems are wired to do what's familiar. Our this whole body mind connection is saying, don't make a change. This is why humans hate change,
Yeah.
because this is right. This is it. So some little things we can do. Um, this is something that I brought this issue to the Rising Tide Fellowship, and you guys coached me and said, I want you to practice micro like ways of being honest. So
Mm-hmm.
one of you guys said, I want you to just almost pretend you're like kind of fussy and you're a draw like a queen and you're like, I want what I want and I get it because I'm so the opposite. You guys were trying to coach me on how to say things like, I'm thirsty. I don't like that. I don't like that one.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, that felt so gross. That felt like that's a sin. That is nasty. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was getting me closer to practicing those little micro honest moments. What I ended up actually implementing was let my face reflect what I'm feeling. So
Mm-hmm.
if you say something rude to me and it hurts me, my face, what I wanted to reflect that I am hurt instead of
Mm-hmm.
smiling and making you comfortable with treating me poorly. That's my habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for saying that rude comment to me.
Yeah.
Like that's literally what I was wired to do. And it felt unsafe to
Yeah.
say, oh, ow, that hurt. Did you mean to say it like that? And
Yeah.
that practice was huge. So practicing micro honesty. What else?
Mm-hmm.
What helps you cut this out?
Oh, that's a good one. I think that I my body, my body, I I have to feel it. Like I have to absolutely feel safe. And so something that I have been practicing is kind of just like this moment of like acceptance that something feels gross.
Mhm.
And I don't think that that's something we've talked about in the awareness piece of the like just sitting in it for a second. And it's like of sitting in the uncomfortable or sitting in the unassuredness of the that didn't feel good, but I don't know what to say. Like kind of
Mhm.
like that baby step into those micro honesties, I would say has been really helpful for me. And then letting my body lead from there, in the sense of just taking a moment or taking time to like pause before responding. I think has been a really big thing. If you've been texting me over the last couple of months, I've been very good recently about not responding like immediately. If something is off, like I will take some time to think about my response and instead of just thinking, okay, what did they want to hear? Or like, let me get this off my to-do list or whatever. And it's like remembering like, no, like a text message isn't just a text message. This is like an actual conversation you're having with someone else. And you can like, I get to choose how I show up to that. And so giving myself space before showing up, I think has been really good in feeling it
Mhm.
inside. Um, I will get I will get nervous, like not good butterflies, like the negative butterflies, my stomach will get kind of like upset or like
Mhm.
I'll feel tense or like anxiety. Even if it's something as simple as I'm trying to think of just something as simple as responding to like a to-do or we have a Rising Tide Fellowship like coaches chat. And every now and then something will come through and I'm thinking like how do I respond to that or how do I give like advice without sounding like a jerk or a know-it-all or something like that
Mhm.
because I've realized from the past like my body just like immediately jumps into something and I just say things and like that's
Mhm.
not like that's not good. It's been historically proven it's not good. So I need to feel it first.
Yes, that's so good. I think that's what so much of coaching does is that right there, that moment that you're describing of most people can't feel what's going on in their body. When they get the text
That's
message that's
so true.
creating stress, they're just like, I gotta make this go away quick. So I gotta
Yeah.
respond, I gotta knock this out. But what's actually happening is you're having some discomfort in your body and you're
Yeah.
trying to take action to make it go away
Hmm.
through outward action versus inward action.
Very
And
true.
that first step, and that's what we always teach in coaching is like how, okay, I'm going to just show you how to feel this, how to take action with you and with Christ, not with responding and forcing the situation to make you feel more
Mm.
comfortable. Because
Oh.
little text messages and the Rising Tide Fellowship, like, okay, you can probably just word your way out of that discomfort. But if it's something like an argument, or if it's something from like a parent that's uncomfortable, a hard conversation,
Hmm.
if your spouse and you are arguing, or if they're saying something that you're like, there's a big conversation underneath this that I don't want to bring up right now. And if I say the wrong thing, it's going to bring it up.
Right.
Like those type of things, and you cannot control the discomfort that's there. It's there.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
grief is another one of those, like we don't get to control the pain from grief, and so instead of trying to outwardly control it with words or deeds, that's
Hmm.
what we're learning to go inward and go, okay, Lord, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need you to do, and then let's listen and see what he does. And from that space your body feels so much more comforted, and that discomfort is, it's usually the discomfort is not 100% gone, but it's waned so much that you have this clear head now and you're kind of like, I don't know if
Yeah,
I even want to say anything, or I'll just say this. And it just feels so much easier.
it does. It feels so much easier, and I think that it's like also like it's because we're showing up fully to ourselves too. And I don't think that's something that we really
Mhm.
touched on, but like we're hiding from ourselves. Like the reason why we're hiding from
Mm.
other people is because we're also hiding from us. We don't want to face the hard thing. We don't want to have the hard conversation because that's requiring like inner reflection. And a lot of us have a lot of things that we'd rather not talk about, we'd rather not think about, and like that's valid. And again, it's human, but it's also like our call to like sanctity to identify those things and to work through those things and to use those things to become better people and to know ourselves fully. And that's something that like the I believe it's in scripture. I'm Catholic, I don't know my Bible. But it's in scripture, right? Where it talks about like knowing yourself fully like means that you get
Mhm.
to know God more fully.
Mhm.
But like making that spiritual connection, I think, is really important because if we don't know ourselves fully, we don't know others fully, we can't let other people know us fully, and we don't know God fully. And we have to do all of those things if we want to like fulfill our purpose here on earth.
Well, that's so profound. And that's like the big picture. So let's take it that
Hmm.
same concept to the individual moment. And when you are experiencing discomfort in a relationship, or if you're like, gosh, we've been estranged for so long and I wish we weren't, or if you're like, oh, like I'm just is this all there is to life? Is this like work rat race
Mm-hmm.
feeling of, or oh, like I have always wanted to get X and I just cannot get it, like whatever it is. Um, and the health. If you're like, this is the 100th time I've tried to lose weight and I'm just so sick of this.
Yeah.
This is what this is it. This is you. It's like you're trying to achieve something without going through the underlying stuff, the skeletons in your closet.
Yeah.
And so the kind of the carrot at the other end, like why would you get out of the bath? You know, why would you go do something unfamiliar? Why would you get all the skeletons out of your closet? There's a carrot dangled on the other side. It's of what you want. Not
Mm-hmm.
just heaven. Yes, heaven is over there, but also fruit. Fruit in this
Yeah.
life, fruit with your relationships, with your health, with your finances, with your discipline, with your budgeting, with your organization,
Mm-hmm.
health. All of those things that you're desiring are through the skeletons. And
Yeah.
God uses that beautiful dream of ours, that carrot, to encourage us, to motivate us to actually do the work because He knows we don't
Yeah.
want to. He knows He's not mad
Exactly.
that we don't want to do all the gross stuff.
Yeah. And doing all the work grants us deeper connections. It grants us like less like social exhaustion, like you were talking about, like just showing up instead of having to like toss yourself out the window before you get there.
Yes.
Like clarity, confidence, and like honestly, there was a point in my life where I couldn't imagine showing up to certain conversations without like a pit in my stomach. Like
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine that, but there are very few conversations I now show up with that. And like praise God, but it's because like we walked through the mud. Like I didn't try
Yes.
to build a house on sand. I was just like, get the sand out of here. Like
Yep.
we're gonna lay a good foundation. And that's what we did. Um and that like again, you say test it by its fruit. Like what do you walk away with conversations right now? Like do you feel good after those conversations? Or are you feeling like drained, like a shell of yourself?
Or fussy. Fussy. I think the red flag for me is
Or
if
resentment,
I'm just
yeah.
yapping about it, that means that so if whatever your situation is, if you're yapping about the situation, then most likely it's because you're trying to process something you have not felt. You have not gone deep. You have not gone,
That's
oh,
good.
there's something there that I suppressed. There's
Yeah.
a need and a want at the base of this. And the cool thing is, and I just had a client this week that did this. He always doesn't want to do the emotional work. He's like, it's fine. It's fine. I'll just like stay up here at the surface. And the
Mhm.
cool thing is when you get to the root and you see your needs and your wants, they're actually really beautiful. And
Yeah.
they make the world, they make your community, they make your business a better place if you'll get to those needs and wants because there's
Yeah.
a part of you that is actually making it it's very holy and good. There's some desire on your heart that God put there and you've just been like, no, no, I'm shoving it down, it's fine.
Yeah.
But when we unearth it, I'm like, I tell this client every time, like, look, we found it and this is good. It's going to change like your whole business, all the people that you work with. If you'll bring this up, it will make her and him and her happy. Like, do you see that this is helping them and not just you? And it's
Yeah.
so hard for him to see it because he's wired to just suppress those. Just go, nope,
Yeah.
it's fine. I will just show up halfway
Mhm.
and I will grit my teeth and I'll smile and I'll say, it's fine. It's fine. And this
Yeah.
whole situation at my office is fine. And it's
Yeah.
like, so if you're yapping about it, if you're gritting your teeth, if you're frustrated, like this is what we're saying is like there's something there. And
Yeah.
what's the first step, Audie? What's the first step once they see like, oh, there's something there? What do we want them to there's so many options. What do we want them to do?
There's
What do
so many options. The first step, good grief. I would say feel it. Probably need to feel it. Probably need to sit there and feel but that's I'm trying to think of my situation yesterday because that was very like raw, like and just very
Mhm.
unexpected. And so first thing I did was obviously I noticed it. And then I showed up with curiosity, so I questioned. Um, and I was like, okay, why am I responding like this? And then I kind of just got to, because I questioned it, I'm not going to say create my own narrative because I don't think that that's exactly what I did, but I got to see, like, I got to choose where that. comes from, if I guess if that makes any sense. Um, or how I move forward with it, I guess you could say. Um, and so choosing how you move forward with it, either I could suppress it, or I could mask or mold myself and pretend that, like, oh yeah, that's who I am, like it's not a big deal, or I could like face it and be like, I don't like that, and I don't know where it came from, and I shouldn't respond this way. And so what do I want to do about it? And for me, like I have, like I said, I haven't completely processed yet, but I started the self-coaching process yesterday. This is for people with kiddos at home, small kiddos. Like it was prime, it was the witching hour, if you will. It was like 6:30 or 7 o'clock when this
Oh,
realization.
you're like,
So we're
oh,
doing
it's time.
dinner, we're doing bedtime and everything, and I was just like, well, I'm gonna put this on hold, but I'm gonna come back for you. Um, but yeah, like it's really just kind of first, I think identifying the root of it, where it comes from. For me, that's the first thing I go to. It's like, okay, we've found that there's a leak. Now let's like dig up the whole leak and find like how bad is it? Like let's assess the
Mm-hmm.
damage. And then that kind of gives me a moment in which we can move forward. Like, do I need to bring in another coach? Like, do I need to be coached about this? Is this something that I can do myself? Do I need to take this to therapy? Do I need to like bring this to the Lord? Like, where does this need to go? So I would say and assess the damage, show up with curiosity, and then decide how you want to move forward.
Yeah. I find too that those things are really hard to do for yourself. This is why
Yeah.
coaches still have
Oh my
coaches.
gosh, I know.
Like for the little things, like this is a little thing we think. Sometimes it ends up being bigger, right? When you assess the damage, you're like, oh, there's this huge like leak under the
Mm-hmm.
whole house is flooding under there. But this is a littler thing. But when you find something bigger, um, it's like, oh, this is a chronic way that I show up and I show up halfway. I do not
Yeah.
allow, like for me recently, I told you guys, I just realized that I was not allowing my husband to fully see me. And that was
Mm-hmm.
my 2025 goal is like just to be seen.
Yeah.
Allow him to see me more fully, allow others to see me more fully, just be myself, be safer being myself. And
Yeah.
that is so much bigger than it sounds. That
Oh
is,
my
I
gosh.
mean, I can just shake and cry and not want to do that. We're talking about taking a trip with our Rising Tide Fellowship, and it's like to be seen for 3 days. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if I can do that yet. I've been practicing with you guys on in our community online, and it's getting easier and easier the more I practice with you guys, but can I do it live 3 days? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Um,
Ooh,
and
that's so
so
true.
yeah, I think it's kind of like the sentence. I always say the sentence that you cannot see the label when you're inside the jar. So letting a coach
Mm.
or someone that you trust look at your situation and let them read the label to you. Oh, this is what I see the label saying. Like um this is a deeper problem or this isn't a deeper problem or look
Yeah.
is this maybe connected to something this like letting the outside person read the labels to you of what you're
Mm.
experiencing
Yeah.
because when you're in it you're like I'm fine nothing's happening you know
Yeah, no, that's so true. And you're totally right. I've only gotten these skills because I've been doing this for years and, and we've made it to this point. Like I've literally been trained and certified to do this. And so yeah, I can crack some of that open for myself, but like first thing I did was message you. And I was like, "Oh
hmm
my gosh, like I figured this out. Like let me tell you about it." And so I think that's really important too, joining like a community like the Rising Tide where we can like go and practice these things together. I think is, oh my gosh, like a huge key to take that and work through that and have somebody mirror it, because we don't know the damage sometimes. Like we
hmm
don't know the extent of the leak. We just know that there's water and we don't know where it's coming from. And so showing it to someone else, like say a friend, it's like, oh, like it looks like there's a bunch of water here. And it's like, okay, what do I do? And you go to like a counselor, or you go to a therapist, you go to like a coach or someone in the Rising Tide. It's like, okay, I have this. And it's like, oh, okay, great. Like in the Rising Tide, we have so many different coaches that specialize in different things. So it's like, okay, I think like Coach Claire would be great for you, or Coach Ryan would be able to walk you through this, or we get to this point and it's just like, you know what? I don't think you need a coach. I think you need a therapist.
hmm
Like, why don't you, I can help you find one online in your area, or whatever that looks like, it's so important to have someone else there that's like going to be capable of like holding you in that place. And
Mhm.
there's water coming out and you're muddy and it's gross and it's okay because that's what we do.
Well, and just the last piece of that, because that's you're telling me all the things of like how to get out of the tub, what you have to do, how to put on your shoes, go for that walk. But like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. So like we had a
Totally
new
true.
client show up to a new member show up to the Rising Tide Fellowship this last Thursday, and she's never been to a community coaching hour. And she came in and she's like, I don't really know what I'm going to tell you guys, but like I'm having some postpartum rage. Like here it is.
Yeah.
And I just want to like say it out loud because it's something I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
Through questioning, we had like this huge breakthrough, memory healing from when she was like 18 years old. This warmth and love like moving through her body, compassion for herself, ability to stand up, ability to say, "Oh, I'm not communicating my needs. I'm not valuing my own needs." And now I have 3 children under 3, and it's bleeding out into my family. I'm angry with them all the time. And at the end of this session, that's different. There's fruit. She's not feeling the rage. She's feeling compassion. She's not feeling anger towards her old memories and those wounds. She's feeling gentleness and forgiveness. And that is why we get out of the tub. That's why. Like, it's not because we love digging through the mud. It's not because we love doing hard work. It's because we want life to look and feel better. And it will. It literally in 45 minutes with her, and even not even in a private coaching session, just in a group community coaching
Hmm.
hour, it felt better. And that's just a little like carrot I want to dangle to help us get out of the tub.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's like we go back to like the building the connections and like getting out of that box because you're completely right. Like what's the point of doing it? It's the point of like you don't have the pit in your stomach forever. Like you
Mhm.
don't feel this way forever. And something else, our bodies and our minds are so deeply connected. Like there is a break, like there is a separation there that if it isn't happening, your mental state will affect your body to the point of illness, to the point of like autoimmune disease, to the point of cancer, to the point of whatever it is. It's going to drain you. And so if you're physically having problems, that is a huge sign of like tap into your emotions, girl. Like tap into that. Like step take a step back, and if we're able to jump in and do the uncomfortable thing, the rewards are like rewards and benefits are so great. I'm not on medication.
Yeah. Me
I
neither.
I
Me
have
neither.
not been on thyroid medication for like 4 months, 5 months.
I know.
I never thought I'd be off of it. That's what they told you. Here's your diagnosis. You're stuck with this. But
I
it is
know.
fully because of this deep emotional work that I've made it to this place. That you've made it out and you've made
Yep.
it to this
And
place
my
too.
husband too, ulcerative colitis, was on
Exactly.
multiple pharmaceuticals. Like we are a medicine-free family, but we are
Yeah.
doing the work emotionally. It is there.
Yeah. And it's hard and but it's a lifetime journey that it's worth it.
Hmm.
It's fully a lifetime journey that is worth it. But
Especially if you're a
mm,
Christian and your goal is heaven. Like, especially if you're running the race. Like, if you're
yeah.
truly in your mind or you're running the race, it doesn't make sense to say, "Oh yeah, but I'm gonna avoid all the discomfort." Like,
Yeah.
let's just look like Christ. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Weekly Fellowship Podcast. If you'd like to work with Regan, you can learn more about her on her website at reganclementcoaching.com.
And if you'd like to work with Audye, you can find her at audiegonzalez.com.